Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Real Israel Podcast with me, your host, Chaim. Join us as we dive into Israel's past, present, and future as we explore the rich history, current events, and visionary perspectives shaping this dynamic region. The Real Israel Podcast with me, your host, Chaim Mailspin. And I wanted to ask you, so your name is Danielle, and where are you from, and what are you doing in the Galilee?
So my name is Danielle Ezra, and I came to Israel about a week ago yesterday, actually. And one of the places that I like to come is here in the Galilee, and to see what all the Lord's doing with the Aliyah Return Center, and all the different modalities of giving and kind of being a help and servants and hands-on. I love everything that you guys are doing. It's amazing, bringing Arabs and Jews together, bringing the Jews back to their homeland, and just being here is just amazing. And there's such a peace here as well.
Yeah, and not just because you have Arabic heritage, but God put on my heart 2 nights ago. I was in Magdala, which is this where the ancient stone was found, where Yeshua would have gone and preached a message in a midrash, we call it in Hebrew. He's a rabbi, right? And so this Jewish guy called Yeshua, Jesus, would have put his hands on that Magdala stone. And so I was thinking, man, here I am at this, touching this stone. And I just felt a real impression that I need to honor the Arabic people. So the whole time I was talking, got up to speak, I just thought I'm going to talk about all of my friends from Turan that stand with Israel, even the Druze people. They're not exactly Arabic, but and the Bedouins that fight alongside me. And there's all kinds of people helping the poor. One guy, I won't say his name, but he's from Lebanon, and he's helping so many people. And he came and he hugged me after my talk, and he says, "You know what, Chaim? I want to supply you guys with equipment, tactical equipment, as you go and defend the defenseless in Gaza, and helping rescue these hostages that I'm trying to find them, and they're being held by Hamas. So I have to go into Gaza to rescue these Jewish people." And he says, "I stand with you in that." And he's actually Lebanese. There's another guy who's did his doctorate in the book of Romans, chapter 11.
Oh, wow.
And in Arabic, his doctorate in Arabic, I won't say his name either, but some people don't like him in the Arabic world. But he said, we stand together. And that's not something that people maybe in the West really know, that there are Arab citizens that have the same rights as me, and we're together, and they've been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. Jewish people have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years. If you go back to...
We're family.
That's right. That's right. And so where's your family from originally?
My family is from Beit Hanina in Jerusalem.
Okay, right. Beit Hanina.
Yeah.
Beit Hanina. Okay.
So it's really funny. So when I'm in America, people ask me my ethnicity, like, where are you from? And if I tell them I'm from Kansas City, like, yeah, but where are you really from? Because they see, like, oh, I don't look like you. Right. And so I have to tell them, you say Palestinian, right? Politically correct. Or you can say, well, actually, it's Arab Israeli, because my dad's village is in Jerusalem. Like, it's Arab Israeli. And even that causes such, a disturbance. They're like, no, it's like this anti-Semitic, rage. How dare you recognize Israel as an Arab? Yeah. And I'm like, it is what it is. Yeah. It is Israel. Yeah. We have to.
I was thinking of these chants that are going in universities, and you yourself have probably seen a lot of these Palestinian flags, which is actually not a country. And so you say you don't want to have an American flag, you don't want to have an Israeli flag, but they want to have these other flags, or even Hamas flag, which is a recognized terror group, or Hezbollah. I've seen that yellow flag of the Hezbollah in these university campuses. And I thought, maybe they just need some better chants. Maybe that's what they need. So I came up with a few.
Yeah?
One of them is, you can see us standing here. We're never going to disappear. Israel. I thought, that's something. Just get used to. Israel's not going to go away, and it's not going to disappear. And no, we're not all going to die. Too bad. No, this is. And here, another one is, what is it? I came up with these. You know what? I'm going to look it up real quick just to remember. I came up with a few of these, and I thought that they were so. People have been brainwashed in this kind of
really
hatred.
is. It's illogical.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't even make sense at all.
Yeah. No more Hamas, no jihad, holding our hostage. Jizz is bad. Okay. Here's one is Boko Haram is Al-Din al-Qassam. The God of Israel ain't the God of Islam. And that's a confusion that some people have.
Yeah.
That, it's just the way to say God. I'm like, well, there's a different entity here that both
people don't quite understand that unless you start to really know somebody. It's like knowing a person.
Yeah.
Like if I know that, if I know the things that you like, your temperament and the way that you are and the way that you function,
sugar
and
coffee.
I start, a little bit of sugar and coffee, and I start describing you as wrathful and angry, and people are gonna look at me and say, "That I don't think you're talking about the same person."
Yeah.
Right? Because that doesn't attune with your character traits and who they know you to be. And so many Christians are biblically illiterate that when Arabs start talking about Allah and that it's the same, but they don't realize that the character traits of Allah and the character traits of the God of Israel, they're not the same. You're not talking about the same person. And so it's so important for believers to actually get in the Word and read who God is.
Yeah.
The God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
And even when Muhammad met Angel Gabriel, I don't believe it was Angel Gabriel.
No.
Traits of what those encounters were, he wanted to kill himself numerous times, throw himself off a cliff. That's not what happened when Miriam, the Jewish girl that was the mother of Yeshua, when she met Angel Gabriel, she didn't want to kill herself. Of course you're afraid to die, but give me more power or else I'll kill myself. That whole interaction, I don't think it's Angel Gabriel even. I think there's some other... But without going too deep into that, I do know that all of us are a world in ourselves, very multifaceted. You're a multifaceted person.
Yes.
Me, as a Jewish person, having to serve to defend the sheep of the house of Israel as a shepherd with the shepherd stick.
Yes.
And have to go and find these lost sheep and bring them home to the sheepfold. And I think about, wait a second, what is my perspective? There's a military perspective. I also study government. There's a political perspective that I have. There is a kingdom perspective, kingdom of God, biblical perspective.
Yes.
And so people say, which one are you going to represent? So I know there's that political solution, which is let's leave Hamas in power. Let's just give them a lot of money and or raise someone, the PLO or the Fatah or someone to run Gaza, and it just a lot of money and more McDonald's and Starbucks, and it's all going to be fine. Everyone's going to have economic aspirations, and I mean that was what was tried from 2005 till. So, but that's a political solution to the problems of the Middle East. Just more money, more Starbucks, more McDonald's, and more job opportunities.
It's more of an appeasement.
Right, and that's exactly what was tried from 2005 till October 7th. It was like, let's have the Olympics there. So that's a political approach that people have. And that's not focusing on anything spiritual or anything behind the scenes. It's just trying to say, let's fix everything. Then you have a military approach, which is, we're going to protect our citizens, and if any bad guys come, they're going to get shot. And we're going to make sure we have full control of everything. And no one's going to move without control. Control for defense. You see, these are military terms. And if the Hezbollah wants to attack us, well, they'll get smacked back to the Litani River. And if Iran wants to fight, well, we'll take out the military Natanz. We'll take out the nukes that they're building. We'll blow them up harder, stronger. Control. See, that's the military. Then you have the kingdom perspective, which one do I embody? I really embody the kingdom perspective, even though I'm found in the Knesset talking in our parliament with parliament members, or I'm in the army as a sergeant major. But what I really believe in is the kingdom perspective, which is God of Israel is going to take care of all this, and He's going to win with love. This sounds very strange, but with love, there's going to be Isaiah 19 highway, which is going to go right through Gaza, is where it went in the Via Maris, the Roman road that connected Assyria and Egypt, and it went through Gaza. That was one of the main stopping points, and that's going to happen just like Isaiah promised. How? Well, God's going to supernaturally do it. There's going to be a revival. People are gonna change their mind about wanting Israel dead and all of us dead, and there's gonna be forgiveness. Sounds impossible, I know.
Reconciliation, yeah.
There's gonna be, the bad guys are gonna say, no, we want to serve the true God of Israel now. We don't want to be raise our kids and everyone to be murderers and rapists and so on. That's not what we want for our future. And we are going to lay down our weapons. And and Israel will also be able to have full peace. People won't have to learn war anymore. We're going to throw away our weapons, all of us.
Yeah.
I know this sounds crazy.
You're gonna really have to beat that into a shepherd's hut, right? Remember it said your plowshares and all of that to beat into a shepherd.
That is, and now people think that's absolutely insane and impossible, but it's only through a change of heart that only the actual Messiah from Israel can do. Yeah. Otherwise, it's impossible.
It really is, and that's the thing. Like so many times, you have a lot of Christian sentiment that says, "Oh, with God's impossible," and we look at those people like, I don't know, like that's not pragmatic or that's not. But then things happen, and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
it happened." Like, well, we told you it would happen, And so there's just like that unwavering, like, "Oh, we are going to stand on this. We are going to believe this because when it happens, we're not going to be caught off guard because we're going to look at it and say, no, this is that.
Right.
This is that. This is a fulfillment of that." And just standing firm and faithful in that, like throughout all of the trials.
And if people really think in their university campuses again that just chanting, we want an intifada, which is essentially, I lived through an intifada. Our CFO, I interviewed him on the Real Israel podcast. He talked about living through the first intifada, and then I lived through the second intifada, which was year 2000 to 2000 and something. And there was buses blowing up. There was suicide bombers everywhere. You'd ride on a bus. My mom almost got killed in a bus bombing. She missed her bus, and the bus blew up. Bus 4 in Tel Aviv.
Oh my goodness!
And Sbarro's Pizza exploded. The Dolphinarium exploded. And these are people with bombs under their clothes, and then they'd have a wire, and they would go, and you'd see people with a wire coming out of there, and you'd like, call quickly, everybody down. It was the wildest thing in Intifada. Can't believe that they're asking for an Intifada.
They don't even know what they're asking.
They don't
even know what that is.
It's pretty much saying instead of having a Palestinian flag, you have a gun, and you do a carousel, and you make bombs in this carousel all throughout America, all throughout the world. That's what an Intifada is. That's not cool. No, we don't like that. We don't like that. But I'm just saying, for them to think that that's somehow the future, or that's somehow a goal to have, or that's somehow the CIA doesn't like that, the FBI doesn't like that. They're all evil, all the world's evil, and just these university students are the bastions of righteousness, I guess.
Or ignorance, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I think behind it all is maybe they want to just bring communism or bring some sort of other government other than democracy.
Well, I mean, a lot of college campuses, they're using sentimentality to fuel an agenda that they don't even know about. Because if you actually talk to some of these university students and you ask them simple questions, like, to the river, to the sea, let Palestine be free, if you ask them, like, what river is it? They don't know. Like, they're like, denial. Like, they have no idea. And you have, what sea is it? I know, like, what sea is it? And they have no idea. But it's like, but they don't want to be shamed for not standing up. Right? It's almost like a group psychology, like a mob mentality. It's like they'll be shamed and stigmatized if they don't stand up, and it's like they don't, and then they'll be like not included in what is happening on their campus, and they're like, well, I just want to be included. And I'm like, you don't understand what it is that they're chanting. You don't even know what it is that they're doing right now, and so having different groups go on these college campuses to actually educate some of these university students.
Which is so ironic.
I know. It's hilarious, but it's so true. I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. It's like, it's like, it literally is like a group mob type of psychology experiment that I think they'll look back on 10 years from now. I'm like, what was going on with that?
My heart really goes out to these people, which I'll tell you who they are. There's certain people who have been colonized. They've been colonized, and they've been violently colonized. And it's maybe not who you think. These people were called the Phoenicians. They had King Hiram. of Tyre and Sidon. And they helped build the house of prayer in Jerusalem called the temple. They built the house of prayer for all nations. This guy gave his money. He had a huge trade empire. There were some bad people from there. Jezebel was from there. But the Phoenician, there was a good guy. His name was King Hiram.
Yeah.
He was a good guy. He was a friend of King David. Okay, but they got colonized by Islam. They got colonized. They got brainwashed, and anything that they say against the great colonialization, they get killed or shut down. Same thing goes for even in Iran. It was called Persia, and there was a great king called King Cyrus the Great. It's literally in his name. And he helped to build the house of prayer called the temple, and they were so glorious. Curly beard.
Yeah.
They had glorious might and wealth, and they were blessed. They had some great people in there. There was a prime minister called Daniel. There was a queen, Esther. There was there were some bad guys. Haman, he was considered bad guy. Yeah, but they literally got colonized by a great colonialism power, and if they do anything against the great colonialists, they get killed violently and hung from the actual street lamps. And that's really not cool. There's some more cool people. Have you heard of King? He got King Darius, not Darius, King Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, over in Iraq. In Iraq, it was called Iraq.
Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah, if you
Babylon.
I was actually in the National Bible Museum in DC this past year. My job had flown me out and to be there.
Right.
And it was so interesting because you can actually see the stones in the articles that actually you can see Nebuchadnezzar's name engraved on the stone. And I'm like, they're like, well, how do you know it was Nebuchadnezzar? Well, one, he has his name, and he says his name so many times.
Right.
Like, just over and over again. Like, I was just like, he was prideful. But then when you actually see it, like, oh, I Nebuchadnezzar, like, he speaks of himself in first person. Like, I was with these people groups, which they call the Jews, and there's actually a symbol for the Jewish people. Yeah. Even in the ancient stones, there's like you can just see all the symbols, and then you can always see the Jewish people. There's a little symbol. Like, we keep running into these people. And so you have Nebuchadnezzar, this huge stone, Nebuchadnezzar, talking about himself in first person, but then talking about the Jews.
Yes.
So it's really interesting to see that with your own eyes. Like, it's just like, wow, this is
God
crazy.
actually loved Nebuchadnezzar so much that he gave him the greatest vision of the whole history of the world.
Yep.
And it's like the statue, remember? And it shows all the timelines of all the way up till today, which we might be at the iron mixed with clay feet right now, and that's a mixture of the Roman Empire. It's a broken empire, but and then it gets this big stone comes out and knocks the whole thing down. Yeah. But he got that vision in the night. This guy, and you're like, why would God reveal that to him and even have him not be prideful? God wanted to show him about being humble. So he had 7 years. He had to be like eating grass and stuff, which is vegan, vegetarian diet for a while. But the important thing is God was moving there in great ways from the highest levels of government. But now they got colonized. They have now the Badr force, which is sworn to. They shoot missiles, by the way, on the Golan Heights from there, from Iraq as well. And the Badr force in Iraq is a force that is destined, they say, to die in the pursuit of destroying all of Israel. And they have in Lebanon, of course, there's the Rudwan force, which they have a suicide unit, which is about 1,000 people, 1,500, and they said we are willing to go to our deaths to kill all of Israel. And so my point is, all these people look at it in Egypt. You see that Egyptians have all this stuff, but God did a lot of effort to say, no, don't bow down to these birds and these things in the Nile and kill your children in the Nile. Don't do all that. I'm doing a lot of work to show Egypt that you are my people. Egypt, my people. It says. Egypt, my people.
Assyria, the work of my hands.
And so, but why? It's weird that this colonialism has just wiped away, almost like that history never existed. Yeah. And their glory of Kedar, that's Saudi Arabia. Kedar says that the rams of Nebaioth, and the flocks of Kedar, which is Saudi Arabia, will come and with camels and bring gold and silver to Jerusalem. So that's their destiny, and it looks like that might be starting to happen.
Yeah, when that kind of thing happens, when that colonialism happens, it's almost like, what happens when people just forget who they are. They forget their history, they forget where they came from. And I feel like the fulfillment of that, of the Isaiah 19 reality, is people waking up to who they are, and they're waking up to, oh, this is where we came from, this is our history, and getting acquainted with it again, because so many times, all throughout the Word of God, I always say this, the thing I hate the most about being human is that we forget so much, and that's why all throughout the Bible, David remembered the wonders of the Lord again and again. He's like, he just had to recall and meditate on the wonders of the Lord. Why? Because we forget. Yeah. And so that's why it was so important all throughout Scripture to tell us again who the God of Israel is. Tell us again. Yeah. And we've gotten to a generation that has been so colonized and so lost in their identity that no one's even saying tell us again, because they've forgotten the story.
True. Even down to you think of Aladdin and the rug. They make those rugs in Persia. He's probably a Persian guy named Jasmine. Yeah. And the whole thing is these rugs were like a way to tell stories and weave. All that history is being destroyed. Afghanistan, they had, before the whole opium thing and all that, they were hippies would go there. Hippies would do dance festivals like Nova in Afghanistan. Our own treasurer of the Aliyah Return Center, he would go to Afghanistan to dance festivals with a bunch of hippies. Yeah, and you wouldn't imagine music even in Afghanistan. What about the Yemenite history, Yemenite Jews, Yemenite culture, Yemenite food? So great. What do you see now? The Houthis say we're going to shoot up all the airports of Saudi Arabia if they stand with Israel. They're attacking the guys who are running Mecca. They want to bomb the guys who run Mecca because that's how much they hate Israel. Yeah. It's it doesn't make sense. You're going to bomb the guys who have Mecca and Medina. You're big because they stand with it. They want to stand with Israel. So I think we need to be engaging people more in prayer and intercession, because these are spiritual things that aren't just physical things.
Yeah, I would tell my students that whenever something is irrational, doesn't make sense, that's how I can always kind of discern the demonic. Because it's why are they doing this? Do they know that this doesn't make sense? They don't know they're right. It's almost like the Bible, they don't know they're right here for their left, and it's just what is going on? And so using discernment, obviously, but then also it's you're looking at, this doesn't make sense, what you're saying, they're going to blow up Mecca, but this is what they're standing for, it doesn't, and so that's how you can tell it really is a spiritual dynamic. We really do need to pray. We need intercessors for Israel. We need watchmen on the wall that will cry out for the land, that will cry out on behalf of the people, and I think that's our biggest need, because this really is spiritual. And once we realize that, everything changes.
And like you said earlier, that there has been a great attacks in some way on prayer things like Gateway Church, like IHOP, International House of Prayer in Kansas City, and many problems in various Justin Bieber's pastor. So many people that were real kind of calling for prayer, and it's almost like an attack on them. I've noticed even with Vertical Galilee House of Prayer, there's always something that's coming against any places of prayer or gathering to really intercede, because there's a strength behind that, and the enemy doesn't want that unity. Always there's going to be something going against, and people are people, and they fall, and we shouldn't idolize people. But I do agree with you that coming to where two or more are gathered, there God is in their midst, and we can see a future which isn't the past. But most of the people can't think of the future. Their brain is, the whole word Aliyah, it's not just a historical thing with Abraham. When he came to the promised land with Isaac and Jacob and his whole thing. It's not just a historic thing, even with David Ben-Gurion, when Isaiah 66 was, a nation was born in a day. It's something that still continues now, and something in the future. There's going to be, Ezekiel 39 says, all the Jewish people are going to be here. Not one shall be left. They're all going to come to where they fit. But that's a crazy promise in Ezekiel 39, that all, and there's, we have on our wall a list of every country and how many Jewish people are in every country in the world. We got to help them all to be established and to live together with the Arabic people here, and it's a house of prayer for all nations. I talked to a rabbi and I said, what do you think a house of prayer for all nations means? He's like, Well, like just for the Jewish people. I'm like, well, no.
It says for
House
all
of prayer
nations.
for all nations. That means all the nations. Like better than the UN. It's the real Nations United for Israel, not the UN. Nations United, not United Nations.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's like the people can shift and the people can change, but the mission doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The prayer goals, they don't change. It's almost like marching orders in the military. It's like, things happen, tragic things happen, horrible things happen, but the mission's still the same.
Yeah.
Like, the mission hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad and it can get emotionally disturbed, like we don't know, like you're starting to question everything, but you have to stay focused on the mission and what God's doing, and because at the end of the day, He's faithful. Like He's gonna do it. Like He's going to do it. It is going to happen. Yeah. For real. Like not just like an ethereal, like in the spirit. No, like for real in the land. Like it's physical and material, right?
Yeah.
It's not ethereal, right? It really is going to happen.
It's real, just as real as eating breakfast in the morning. It's you can take it to the bank. But, I was just thinking the countries that helped build the House of Prayer for All Nations, which is Egypt. Yes. Egypt helped. They gave gold and silver. It was a tabernacle, became a temple. Right? Again, it was Lebanon. Tyre and Sidon gave trees, gave gold. Cyrus, Iran. Iran, Persia. Yeah. These and there's others that are promised, like I said, Saudi Arabia will be giving more gold towards building this central place of the Messiah's home. So what I think is there's really got to be a lot of opposition to that future, and so I'm just thinking, how can we really pray for those countries that are all right now in deep, even Saudi Arabia, deep pressure and stress, and going back to this to end with this is that, first of all, I'm really thankful to the Galileans of the past who, without them, without the Galileans, without, say, John, for example, you wouldn't know what the future holds. He was taken up. He was on an island, but he was taken up in a vision and showed everybody the end of the book. Yeah. He wrote that by God's help. But that's other Galileans, like Peter, who taught about faith when the worst of times can be the best of times. He's so scared he's going to die in the storm, and then he walks on water. That was like the worst of times can be the best of times for what God. That's probably one of his highlights of his life, is walking on water. But that happened in one of the worst moments. Here in Israel in 1973, which was 50 years to the day of October 7th massacre, and we were caught off guard then, we were caught off guard here. But what it was is people would dig trenches. We didn't have an Iron Dome. We were attacked from all sides in 1973, 50 years to the day, to October 7th. Wow. They were digging trenches and people were lying in the trenches because they thought a bomb would maybe blow up their house, a missile would blow up their house, and so they didn't want a house collapse on their head, and so they would lay in a trench in their backyard in Israel. That's what people were. They were painting the lights blue paint, so the light will still come out a little bit, but the missiles won't hopefully hit their car, like happened to our admin, the admin of the LA Return Center. Her sister and her husband just got blown up like by a Hezbollah rocket yesterday, and completely blown up. And they have three little children. They're completely orphaned. So I'm thinking back to 1973. People were so scared they would paint their windows black so no one could see the lights on and hit it. Attacked from all sides. And those times were also a great time of seeking God. Yeah. 70s, if they call it. And it wasn't just in Israel, but the 70s was a great time seeking God around the world, even in America.
The Jesus movement.
Yes.
Yeah, Jesus people.
Yes.
Jews for Jesus.
There was a ton of
stuff that's happening.
People that all. So sometimes the worst of times can be a time where God wants to do amazing things, like walking on water. And the Galileans, I think, still have a role, because it says in Isaiah 9, the place that was in darkness, the land of Zebulun and Naphtali, the Galilee, I will honor it in the future, and here's where the light touches upon them, it says. In English it says the light shines, Isaiah 9, but the light in Hebrew, Naga Alehem, touches upon them.
I like that.
So I'm like, yes, we're in the Galilee, we're part of maybe what is the greatest times and the worst of times.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, any message you have for whoever's on here about what you're doing and what you're called to do while you're here and in America?
Absolutely. I just want to exhort everyone just to pray, to be that watchman on the wall, to stand even in the midst when no one else is standing, when the whole world and the culture is screaming a different message, to remain faithful and steadfast. It says in Proverbs 20, it says, many a man can claim his own steadfast love, but a faithful man who can find. And it's that faithfulness that God is looking for, to get up day after day and saying, I'm going to pray, I'm going to stand in the gap. Because Yeshua said, I looked and I found no one. Well, let him find somebody. Let him look upon those that are praying and crying out for Israel, for the Jewish people, and for the land. Like, to see Isaiah 19 fulfilled. There's so much we can start praying. Like Luke 18, will God not, or 4:18, will God not bring about justice for the elect and those who cry out day and night? He will bring about justice. He's faithful. And so that would be my biggest exhortation. I mean, even as a theology student, I'm at Ashby Theological Seminary right now, and I'm studying theology and all the things, but the basic things are still the basic things. We still have to pray. We still have to go deep in the Word and lay hold of His heart. Like I said earlier in the meeting with the Knesset, if it matters to Him, then it should matter to us.
Yes.
And Israel matters to Him. It matters to Him.
Yes.
So let us catch that passion of His heart and use it as fuel for intercession, because that's what it's going to come down to at the end of the age.
Yes, and even to challenge you, please make the trip to Israel. It's not impossible. And grow as a leader. Be equipped. You don't get caught off guard when someone throws something out of left field and you don't know how to answer basic things. So come to the Ambassador Academy, which we have the full month of February and the full month of September. And so come and be trained. It costs a little money, but not that much. God will supply. And you can be trained and go back equipped better to do your part of the Hebrews 11 verse 39 Hall of Faith legacy. Your legacy as a leader. We're waiting for you in Israel.
If you enjoyed today's episode, well, go ahead and click like, comment. We want to hear from you. Subscribe, click that notification bell in order to be updated and stay updated. And please help us share the truth. Share this with your friends on social media. Share it everywhere you go. And you know what? We survive and are able to bring you this exclusive content only through donations. So thank you for your generosity.